Es la voz de LA. It's like una galaxiana, come and kick it with us. I bring the bossa nova beats and talk the club that we love. Another year to adjust, and Will Kuntz we all trust. 6 titles in the cabin, tell a hater shut up. Mirar al horizonte con el cielo morado. Llegamos al estadio como siempre lo hago. Es la nueva temporada, ya cumplí 30 años. Rezándole a San Pequi que no dé al travesaño. Que repartan los balones y no sean tacaños. Que regrese el contraataque y que le hagamos daño. Un saludo para Robert, hermanos ecuatorianos. Que la táctica de Ananda nunca sean en vano. Si se trata de mi gala me levanto temprano. Ver el fur en verano, en el pasto tumbado. Siempre estoy a tu lado, en cualquier resultado. Vamos Galaxy, hot top is where I gotta be. Chilling in the canopy, staging like a winery. Goles during rivalries, brew from the refinery. Only want the finer things, we letting you know. Lo que pasa en la galaxia, ready, let's start the show.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana. Thank you guys for being here with us today. We'll miss everyone in chat as we welcome all our listeners to a pre-recorded show for one of our first shows of the off-season. But speaking about the off-season invites a question of how we got here. So with that in mind, your co-host and I will be sharing our top 3 best Galaxy moments of the year, along with the top 3 moments that weren't so spectacular and what they meant in the larger context of the season. Plus, the greatest player of all time is an MLS player for at least 3 more years. All of that and more coming up on La Cuna Galaxiana. But as usual, this podcast is always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans out there, wherever you may be. And we are, again, so sorry we're not here with you live, but we wanted to at least give you guys a little something here on this evening. So without further ado, I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob Halone. You can find my written work at the Sporting Tribune, and you can find me online at El Escudero de LA. And as usual, my co-host Ananda Kirana is here with me. And Papa, how's it on the other side of the world?
Yeah, man, it's the Twilight Zone over here. We're working on different time zones. This is my fault, by the way, guys, that we're doing pre-recorded, that I can't be with you guys because, as Rob always says, I'm busy jet setting around the world, the cosmopolitan one, as he likes to say, even though it's very not cosmopolitan. So it's just, family and trying to deal with some things that happen in life, unfortunately, nowadays. But I missed you guys last time for sure. Rob had a great time with the 2 boys that came on last time. So shout out to Talking Galaxy and shout out to Nuestra Galaxia Futbolera Andrew, our colleagues over there. So yeah, man, I miss you guys. Can't wait to be back with you live. But Rob and I definitely wanted to get this out there in the ether to you guys because we've had a long season, right? And now it's like the time to reflect, repent, do everything that we need to do before we move on, I guess, to 2026. Just a quick look back, even though I don't want to look back too much on the season, Rob. It was a long season for us for sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to look back. I mean, that's the only way we're destined to not repeat the same mistakes of yesteryear is making sure that we call them out. But guys, before we break into this episode proper, we want to say thank you guys for getting us to 700 subs. We did make it. We set the goal, like, let's try to get there by the end of the season, and I think we got there like a day or two after the Galaxy's last game. So I would say we achieved that goal, but now with your help, we're on the march to 800. So keep telling everybody keep telling all your favorite Galaxy fans, all the Galaxy fans in your life about this podcast, and hopefully you like and subscribe, and Ananda always says that a bunch of you guys out there that listen to the pod don't actually subscribe. So maybe today will be the day that you're like, you know what? These guys did a pre-recorded pod for me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit that subscribe button. Who
And
knows?
a bunch specifically is a third of you guys. So guys, why don't you get out of the minority and get into the majority, get into the cool kids, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, smash the likes, all that good
Ooh, the
stuff.
cool kids.
Yeah. Be part of the Cuneros, right? We had a great episode last time with, some of the listeners of the show, and that was probably one of the most fun episodes, probably one of my best memories of this podcast in 2025, Rob, if that's the theme for today, looking back. So that's for sure. But by the way, guys, quick apologies for I don't have a mic today, and this is not my usual backdrop. This is not my usual camera. We're just bootlegging it, but it's all good because it's part of La Cuna Galaxiana heading into season 4. But like I said, we wanted to bring you guys something for sure. Rob, any other housekeeping before we get into it until I drop my one liner?
No housekeeping. Other than to say Dodgers win game 2. Let's go
There
Dodgers.
it is, and you've got the hat. You've got the hat on for sure. And papá, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches. Y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. This is the off-season episode. We're still in season 3 technically. We will switch over to season 4 as the new year hits. I can't believe it, man. We are literally 2 months away exactly from Christmas. I can't believe it. We're gonna start listening to Michael Bublé and all that good stuff pretty soon here in the outlets and all the malls and stuff. So get ready, guys. Navidades casi está aquí.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty annoying to get all the Christmas music so early. But it is what it is. For those of y'all that like Christmas, have fun with it. I know that Minister of Finance over here on this side said that we will be doing a grand Christmas tree and Christmas village. So can't wait for that.
Oh, which means there's gonna be grand ornaments and grand stuff that you're gonna need to stuff the Christmas tree with. So that should be fun.
Yay. Yes, it's going to be a fantastic time. Just to let y'all know, we are on Blue Sky. Ananda says we are on Blue Sky. I still have not
Barely.
verified that fact. But do we have a Threads? Is that a thing? Do we have one of those?
I mean, we have one, we exist, but we are not really too active on that. I'm still trying to figure out like those other accounts, but for sure X and IG, trying to get back on the TikTok Reels as well whenever we get that sorted out. But like I said, we've got a lot of stuff planned for you guys in 2026 and season 4. So stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
I heard. I mean, and this isn't the reason I brought it up, man. Is because I heard that there are now pretty soon there will be as many active users on Threads as on Twitter, right? And it occurs to me like there's no reason we should limit the love to Twitter, right? We should spread that love to Threads as well, and like since you say we're on Blue Sky, we should spread the love there as well. Again, I still have not verified that fact, but you say that it's true, so it's true. Anything else to add before we get into announcements?
We're barely surviving on there, but yeah, let's cut the waffle and let's get into this show proper.
Cut the waffle, indeed. Hopefully he cut his cake. Happy birthday to Novak Micevic. Sorry for the faux pas there on his last name. Novak, happy birthday to you, man. Congratulations. I hope you were surrounded by some friends and family and loved ones. And here's to a better 2026. Hopefully that's what you wished for when you blew out some candles. Reminder, the Galaxy will be playing Club America on Saturday, 11:15 in what has been dubbed the biggest cash grab of the year, according to some of our recent co-hosts. And I mean, it still looks like it's going to be a fun time. So if you can pony up the 65 for general admission per ticket, then go ahead and go catch this match. Of course, I still struggle to see really the the sense in this one, other than the boys are trying to stay fit in a long off season. But other than that, I'm not really sure where this one is happening.
I have a feeling it's going to be mostly Globo America fans, like we've seen all year with Mexican teams coming into the Dignity Health Sports Park. No, so there you go.
Yeah, they be loving that. Yeah, no, it's probably going to be very, very much pro Globo America taking over the digs, and it is what it is, right? I mean, that's what they're throwing this game for, right? To sell this game out and to make some money. Hopefully, some of that goes into the Galaxy's coffers, and they can go ahead and spend some of that money on some new players in next year. We're sure that's not how it works, but wishful thinking. Reminder: the CVI is still happening this year. The Coachella Valley Invitational comes back for its new edition. There are 12 MLS teams participating in this one. There are 6 NWSL teams participating as well. One thing that we're not sure about is on whether if the Galaxy will be participating. So, if you are hoping to catch the Galaxy, we still don't know if that's happening. We'll know, if they'll be participating when they do the Champions Cup draw on Tuesday, 12/9. So on December 9th, we'll know a little bit more. But if you are trying to see some of the other MLS teams, like San Diego will be there, Austin will be there, Charlotte will be there. Sorry, not Charlotte. Charlotte, NYCFC, Chicago Fire. Some of these other MLS clubs, you get a chance to get up there and get close and personal. So yeah, no, definitely a really fun event. Even if the Galaxy don't participate, you guys should go ahead and check it out. Like I said, it's unprecedented access to different players in the league. So go ahead and check it out. Nanda, admittedly, we've already kind of talked about this one, and how La Liga was going to be playing a game in Miami. Barcelona versus Villarreal was going to be kicking off there, and we spoke to our buddy Jose Tez, aka Bromigos, about this, and he's a huge Barcelona fan, and even he was kind of the opinion that this was not really a good look for the game. But this game that was supposed to be played on December 20th in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami was called off due to, quote, uncertainty in Spain, mainly opposition, really heavy opposition from players' unions, supporters groups, even politicians got involved. And of course, it also helps that Real Madrid, through the full weight of their dissent and their protests behind this, to undermine the integrity of whatever was trying to happen with this match. But there were several protests by players who took 15 seconds off from the beginning of matches, and kind of protests of this going on. And it's a rare occurrence in which the players were actually listened to, like their protest was actually heard, and this game was called off. Most fans are calling this a win for soccer. What do you think, Ananda?
I mean, I can't see how it couldn't be a win for soccer, right, Rob? I mean, let's start with the obvious. I think for me, which I agree with Real Madrid on this part, which is, I mean, you're taking a jornada, right, out of the La Liga season. You're taking it off of. Again, I need to probably double check whether this was supposed to be played in Camp Nou or in Barcelona. Well, it's not the Camp Nou right now. They're still playing in Montjuic, I think.
Nah, they were supposed to play at the Villarreal.
At Villarreal. So there you go. So that, for those Villarreal fans, that this is a huge game for them, right? It's a huge game. It's a chance for them to, not only for bragging rights, but to like knock off points off of the usual leaders of La Liga. It's always Real, Atleti, and Barca, right? So I think just for the integrity part, I think this makes a lot of sense because now that home field advantage, I mean, for this game, that stadium Villarreal is going to be packed to the rafters, filled with yellow. The Yellow Submarine is going to be on fire usually that day, right? But now they're taking that completely off site. So I think for the integrity of the game, I 100% agree with that. Because I think that it puts Villarreal at a slight disadvantage. I mean, look, we've seen for marketing reasons, for publicity reasons, like for example the Supercopa, they play that in Saudi in Saudi Arabia, but at the end of the day, it's a one-off game, right? It doesn't really affect your league campaign. There's no points attached to it. Yes, there's a trophy, so maybe there's other ways or other, I guess, games that are more like preseason / like one-off games that you can put off site that normally are played in neutral grounds anyways, Rob. But to do it in the middle of the La Liga season, I think there's just too much interruption there. And then the other thing too is, like, I mean, okay, you want to grow the sport in other markets. I'm sure there's other ways to do that rather than pluck off a match week and put it in a neutral site in that country. So for me, I think it's a win-win for sure, just not only for the fans, but I think, like I said, for the integrity of the sport in terms of the league campaign, right? Because it puts one team at a disadvantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we saw the candid reaction by Villarreal's owner, who was caught on camera reacting to the news very angrily, I might add. But yeah, this is a win for soccer, a win for the people, a win for the players who were in opposition to this. Switching over to MLS action, the MLS wildcard matches kicked off on Wednesday. Chicago beat Orlando 3-1, which knocks out Orlando and Ananda. I mean, we've heard, Poppy over there in Orlando, be there for a couple years, and his Orlando team gets knocked out pretty early from the playoffs when they should have been much higher in the standings. What do you think, man? Is Poppy era over in Orlando?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, it's something that they'll have to scrutinize for sure. I'm sure a lot of the Orlando fans are not happy. Look, Oscar Pareja has a good coach, but I don't know. And it's funny because I've heard shouts for Oscar Pareja to coach the Galaxy, right? Like especially amongst the Vanny Out crew. So, but it's interesting. Like he hasn't gotten any result in terms of trophies, at least in recent history. I mean, he's still a good coach, but I don't know. Is it time for a change of scenery for him? Perhaps, right? He's not getting the results.
Yeah, well, this match was the first one that kicked off here in MLS playoffs, and yeah, we might have just seen the last game of the Oscar Pareja era in Orlando. The other wild card match on Wednesday was between Portland and Real Salt Lake. In that one, Portland beat Real Salt Lake 3-1, so they will move on into the playoffs. And really, the only match that has happened so far is Inter Miami versus Nashville. Inter Miami takes that one 3-1. That one's typical Messi stuff. Just a brace and a diving header here and a masterclass there. Just the alien doing alien stuff, man. This when I saw the diving header, I was like, wow, buddy's doing diving headers now. Parece que si quiere el trofeo, no?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I wonder if he did all that because he was pretty happy about something else, right, Rob?
yeah, well, we will get to that something else here in one quick second, but since there were no games today here as we are recording this pre-recorded episode on Saturday, you guys will be listening to this a couple days later, 2 days later to be exact, on Monday. So in your multiverse, the MLS matches will have already happened. 1 day previous, which would be Sunday, but will be tomorrow for us in this multiverse. And this is the problem Marvel had with keeping the multiverses together and straight. But anyway, you guys know what's up. No games today, but tomorrow, Sunday, which would have been yesterday for you guys. Philly versus Chicago, 2:30 p.m. Vancouver versus Dallas, 4:30 p.m. and San Diego versus Portland at 6:30 p.m. That one, Philly, Vancouver, and San Diego are the home teams in those, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in San Diego's first playoff match in their history, and if they can go ahead and carry over that success that they had in the regular season to the playoffs. So by the time,
maybe I was gonna say maybe without Chucky Lozano, right? That's a pretty crazy
yeah,
story that happened that unraveled in the last week. So it'll
blood.
be
Did you
interesting.
read? Did you read his apology?
I didn't catch that yet. Was that today? I didn't catch. I was
Nah, it
probably
was.
asleep. So.
I think it was like yesterday or the day before. It was basically like everyone that knows me knows I'm an intense and passionate person, and sometimes in that intensity and passion, I react to people in the wrong way. People that I actually like and respect. I just sometimes act out in the wrong way because of that intensity and passion. I'm trying to be a better person, better teammate. You know, basically, I care too much, so I do the wrong shit. Is basically what he meant to say.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's bad juju for them, and they get bounced in the first round. So not hating, not hating. So
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently this is just Lozano's history, man. I mean, uh, people that have followed his career more closely than I can probably speak more more on this, but apparently he had other troubles at other clubs and other discipline stuff, and that's one of the reasons that he's had trouble with the Mexican national team as well. But again, I'm no authority on Chico Lozano, and hopefully he does become a better teammate and quote unquote better person according to him, according to his apology, and that no one likes to see like a team lose just because of some players were out. If you're gonna, I firmly believe if you're gonna beat them at their top, so there's no excuses later. But like I said, who knows what will happen in San Diego's first uh, playoff match in their history? We will find out tomorrow. And again, by the time you guys listen to this, it will have already happened. So you'll have the benefit of that. But Ananda, you kind of already alluded to it. One of the reasons Messi might have gone off, and here it looks like he's sitting in the Roman Coliseum or something, but this is actually what looks like is Freedom Park there in Miami. Messi in this picture is signing his new 3-year contract, which will take his contract with Miami up to 2028, and the man will be 41 at the end of that term. He says he's very excited to play in Miami's new Freedom Park and inaugurate that park and everything that's gonna, come with, a new park opening. Of course, this is even if this contract puts him to the age of 41, it's just a sound investment. I mean, since arriving in MLS in 2023, he's scored 50 goals in 53 league games. He just won the Golden Boot again, and most likely will win the MLS MVP this year. He shows no signs of slowing down whatsoever. In fact, he is getting a renewed team around him, as a lot of his Barcelona teammates that initially came over with him are going to be retiring, and it looks like they are going to retool around Messi with new young hotness. So first off, I mean, Ananda, what do you think, man? Uh, I just said what I thought. I mean, this is a no brainer, but what do you think in here when you hear this news?
yeah, I mean, I'll just add to that the fact that not only is it a no-brainer, I think it's a win for MLS, right? In general, you keep a guy sort of the face of the league, I would argue, over the past couple years, one of the big faces of the league. I mean, you put a lot of stock into this guy in terms of not only marketing the league, but you know, what David Beckham's trying to build there, which is, I mean, we've talked about this on the show, like kind of a, I don't know if it's going to be a fully Galacticos, but he definitely did it over the last 2.5 years, right, of the rebuild of Miami, with Messi as the face. But I mean, clearly this is a win for MLS. Maybe not for this show, maybe for a sidebar conversation or maybe another one. But I thought it was interesting when Don Garber was asked about this, what his response was. But I think in general, though,
The Don.
he's clearly going to be the face of the league again. And I think as MLS fans in general, like, however much we want to hate watch Miami, all that, all the banter stuff. I mean, we're watching a living legend, right, Rob? This is a guy like LeBron that, like, I don't know how he combats father time, but he's gonna play until his 40s, and he's probably gonna. I mean, look, the guy's scored 50 goals in 53 games. I don't see that rate dropping. I mean, he's figured out MLS defenses like they're nothing. He's just making them look like Sunday League, right? So, again, I think this is a guy that we're gonna enjoy the pleasure of watching, just like LeBron, like, stand the test of father time somehow, some way, and this is a win for the league.
Yeah, and it's even a bigger win because Messi's going to be here for the World Cup and subsequent years, to capitalize on all that good press and that momentum here, and hopefully it brings the sport here in the U.S. to a new level. But anyway, Ananda, there's this overwhelming positivity that I've seen to his re-signing here. I mean, even folks that aren't really Inter Miami fans gotta admit that this is probably good business sense for the league, and whatever it means for Miami in a sporting sense, at least in a business sense, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and let me, and before we go into the main segment, I think the biggest thing, Rob, is with the announcements of Jordi and Sergio Busquets, and then with the announcement of this heading into the playoffs, I think timing wise, this is perfect timing, right? It's very clear now that Miami is on a mission. Messi is here to stay. Busquets and Alba, it's their swan song. It's the last dance. So let's make it happen. And I think this is perfect timing for them from a PR motivational standpoint as well.
yeah, it's gonna, if they do end up winning, the documentary is gonna be pretty nice for them in terms of how they can set it up. But one of the things that you brought up a couple times on this podcast is your desire to see a certain Polish striker named Robert Lewandowski play for the Galaxy. And the rumor broke the other day, per Ekram Connor, who is billed as a global transfer expert. And I don't know how close to global transfer expert he is to, like an Ornstein or for Fabrizio Romano, but apparently he's pretty credible. And says that Inter Miami has at least spoken to Lou's representatives about joining Inter Miami and being the new striker there in Miami after Luis Suarez's impending retirement comes up. This, I mean, I've already told you I'm not in favor of Lua coming to the Galaxy, but is this marked that kind of signal of intent that we were just talking about from Miami?
I mean, it should. I think, I don't know what his contract situation is with Barca, but I would expect that he wouldn't move until after the World Cup. Um, I think that's what, again, this World Cup and this transfer window is going to make things very interesting for players, because right now they're fighting for playing time to get in their national teams to make sure they get in that final World Cup squad, right? So I think for for Lewandowski, it's probably the same. But I mean, statement of intent, I think in terms of star power, sure. And he's another one of those guys that stands the test of time. But I've talked about this before in a previous episode, man. It's going to be interesting to see how Beckham and Jorge Mas build this team around Messi, because they've tried it with sort of the quote unquote Galacticos. We don't know if that's a full failure yet, because of course there's still this playoffs with that squad. But I think it'll be interesting to see where they go, right? Do they go sort of with the younger stars that they've had, like Kermosky, Allende, those guys, or do they go Diego Gomez, right? That moved to Brighton. Do they go there? or do they sort of build again with the Galacticos? I think someone said on the show, I forgot who we had on the show, but they said that it's probably going to be a mix of both, which is probably right. But in terms of star power, I mean, Lewandowski, there's not many bigger names in world football, at least in the striker position.
Well, that shatters your dream, man, and I'm sorry about it. But watch this space, as we'll go ahead and update you as soon as we know anything, and really as soon as we know anything on any Galaxy news. Here's there's a good feeling that I have that we probably won't know anything until after the Club America game, in terms of roster news, roster decisions. But this feels like a good time to remind you that if you're listening to this podcast, first off, thank you. We love you. Ananda owes you a shot. He'll take a shot with you rather. But subscribe, like, comment, send us a smiley face on this video and follow us on all the socials. Like I said, we are on pretty much everything under at Lacuna Galaxiana. That's Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, MySpace, Carrier Pigeon, Raven, a la Game of Thrones style. So you get the drift. At Lacuna Galaxiana, hit us up. You know where to find us. But also very important, hit that subscribe button, y'all. Again, Ananda will take a shot with you. He promises. But now, without further ado, I'm a firm believer in to know where you're going, you gotta know where you came from. Or in this case, if the Galaxy are going to go into 2026 on a high note and look at some optimism going into that year, you also got to look at what made 2025 so terrible that we got to learn from it. But in typical Lacuna fashion, we don't want to be negative Nancy's here, so we're going to give you our top 3 worst moments of 2025. And then our top 3 best moments of 2025. So we have a little bit of what do they say in Vilnius? You got to take the sweet and the sour. That's exactly right here. You got to take the sweet with the sour. So top 3 worst, top 3 best. We're gonna go in order, Ananda, from 3 to 1. What makes this fun is that we did not share with each other what our top 3 worst or top 3 best are, so we're going to be surprised, and these are going to be pretty fun, genuine reactions. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully you guys let us know as well what your top 3 worst, top 3 best moments of the season are, and tell us if you agreed with ours. And without further ado, here he goes, Nanda. Who wants to go first? Yeah, should I go first? Should you go first?
It's up to you, man. You're the host. I'm just the co-host. I'm just a bystander today without the mic.
Well, then
Your call.
Well then, F it. I will go first. All right. And I feel like we should get the bad stuff out of the way first. Right.
Yeah, and then end the show with a positive. So
exactly. So my first, I'm going to give you an honorable mention, right? Because there was a lot of bad moments in the season, but and having to boil them down into different individual moments, I picked ones that meant something more in the grand scheme of things, right? So my first one, which is the honorable mention, is that Toluca loss in the final moment in the Campeones Cup.
That was my number 3.
Well, why? It just shows in a microcosm of what the Galaxy's defending was like all year, giving up late and important goals, shooting yourself in the foot off set pieces. It was vintage Galaxy in a bad year, and it just was very expected. I said it a couple pods ago when it happened. I saw it coming, and it happened. This was a team that couldn't hold a lead, and we saw it here in this very match, in the biggest of stakes, Unfortunately, this is where they let it go. But you said that was your number 3, right?
Yeah, I had like a 2A, 2B. It was hard to put these in order. I definitely I'd had a clear number one worst, which we'll get into obviously later. But yeah, man, this was a sucker punch. This was a gut punch. This hurt. I think inside I was probably feeling the way Diego was at full time, which is, on the floor, hands on knees, sobbing, like, completely exhausted. And it felt like he put everything into that game, which, like I said, I te estaba contando, like, como con mi experiencia, right? Like, I was with my wife, she was giving me emotional support with the dog and everything. So, look, man, say what you want about this, whether it's a Mickey Mouse trophy or not. It was a chance to win something. It was a chance to salvage and show some face for this year. And it's just the way it happened, just super anguishing. And that's why for me it made my top 3, because it summed up the Galaxy to a T in terms of just blowing leads, and the way we finished out and not able to manage games and step up to certain situations and certain moments. And this was a full representation of that, and it hurt even if it was a Mickey Mouse Cup. It doesn't matter.
Before we jump over to our number 3 top best, I will give you my number 3 top worst, because I gave you my honorable mention, but I felt like the honorable mention was important. But my number 3 was Philly, that 3-2 loss after being up 2-0, and it just kind of is a reflection on the honorable mention, which, like I mentioned, the Galaxy could not hold a lead this year. You also saw it in Philly; they go up 2-0, and they end up winning. They end up losing rather in injury time, 3-2 after being up 2-0. On that day, Ananda was super happy, and he sent me so many text messages like, "The Galaxy are up 2-0, blood. Like they're finally gonna do it." Nah, man. I told him it's too early. Get back at me. And dicho y hecho, Galaxy did not hold this lead. But let's go ahead and head over to our top 3 best. Number 3.
Well, hold on. Before you get there, should we just do all the worst, get all the bad stuff out of the way, get all the bad juju out of the way, and then go to the best? How about that? Let's end the show on a positive, like a full crescendo.
Sure. Okay. Well, what was your number 2 then?
Okay, my number 2, I'm gonna take this. I didn't know how to do this because it was like when I thought about this thing, uh, it could kind of fall into 2 categories, which is what I did. It could kind of fall into both, but I'm gonna take a little bit of a turn here, Rob, and it was actually nothing that had to do on the pitch for me. My number 2, and this could have been a number 1 if I think about the grand scheme of things, but my number 2 was, unfortunately, the LA Galaxy not being able to respond to the immigration raids and joining the rest of the community in solidarity. That was my number 2. Like I said, I had a 2A, 2B. All these could be jumbled up in there, but I don't want to get too political on this show, but however you guys feel, or however our listeners feel about what the Galaxy did or did not do, I think the one thing that we can all agree on that's very clear from this, Rob, is the fracture and the distrust and the outcome, the aftermath of what happened after sort of the non-reaction or the non-response, right? Of course, you see it's some of the other teams in LA, even the LA Dodgers, made a contribution to sort of help in all of that, and all that stuff. So, but I think now one of the storylines we talked about heading into next year is sort of like, what does the digs now look like in 2026? And it all stems from this, Rob. It all stems from this,
Yeah.
right? It created that fracture, it created that distrust. So it has to be one of my top worst moments because, football is not just about what's played on the pitch, but it's about the fans and the 12th man and the digs and the fortress that we talked about of all 2024. I don't know what that looks like in 2026. It's a huge question mark. And that's why it's got to be, for me, at least in my top 3. And I put it at number 2.
Yeah. Super valid. My number 2 is those 2 late season matches against Seattle. First, that 4-0 drubbing at home and then the 2-0 Leagues Cup semifinal loss at home as well. Not only were they devastating losses, they showed the gulf in class between both teams, but it also showed the gulf in class between where the organizations want to be. And like I said, I mentioned that none of these were chosen without having the broader picture in mind. And there's been a couple of times where we've talked about the Galaxy not being a consistent organization, how there have been wild roller coaster swings, 10 bad years, a couple of playoff appearances, and then finally a title. But then this year again, last place for most of it, and just narrowly missing the wooden spoon. Again, this one was chosen because not only did they get played off the pitch, but it shows you that whatever Seattle's doing is working, and maybe the Galaxy needs to do a little bit more of what they've already done, and kind of didn't they take Ravi off of Seattle and Ananda?
Okay, yeah, right, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, this was definitely probably one of my honorable mentions. I mean, those losses were tough because it showed the gulf in class, and it showed that we weren't, at least for the 2025 version of the Galaxy, just they weren't ready. Like full stop. They just were not ready, and they were a shadow of their former selves in 2024. While Seattle just got hot and they won Leagues Cup, and they're about to make a probably another deep playoff run now.
Yeah. What is your number one? Number one worst.
And this one was easy because we were there to live it and experience it and live it
Yeah.
and breathe it.
Oh, we got. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, it has to be, and it's interesting because I mean, like I said, I could have put my number two in my number one spot, but it has to be that 7-0,
Mm.
Rob. Like it has to be. You think about, well, I think about that 3-game roadie in general, and you talked about the Philly loss. Let's not forget the game before this was the 1-0 to SKC where we didn't give up a shot. Not a shot on target, a shot, right? So you go into this game and we're like, okay, we need to bounce back. Of course, we were taking a road trip ourselves. We wanted to see the team, wanted to visit New York. We had a great time. And then comes Saturday night at Sports Illustrated Stadium. And I like literally I don't know what the F happened that day. Like I literally everything was such a blur, right? Like but I even said multiple times in that game, Rob, and I thought at that point like Greg I actually thought they were going to axe Greg after that because there was so much disorganization. There was so much like I mean, if you have to be disorganized to give up 7 goals, right? And then like you Rob, like it was so bad that when we left the stadium, it was like 5-0 and they scored like twice in injury time or like the last 5 minutes of the game,
Mm.
including a Yamane back pass into his own net,
Mm.
right? Like it was all the bad things that happened in once. And I felt so embarrassed leaving that stadium, like so embarrassed. I even looked at you and like, you're still gonna get on this press conference, right? Like, I don't know what you're gonna ask Greg, but you looked at me like, yeah, blood, like we've got to do this, but holy crap, like I don't want to talk to Greg right now because I can't imagine what he's thinking. You saw
Yeah.
like you saw it full time. They were like in a full huddle, right? And I literally I thought that Greg was gonna get axed after this one because you know how like we usually when you ask a coach, it's the players, you could see the faces in the players that they don't believe in the system, like they don't believe, they don't have any more belief. And I thought maybe that was gonna be the game. I mean, it wasn't, but, just I don't know what else to say about that game, but I felt completely embarrassed as a Galaxy fan.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because you did a 2A and 2B. Well, I did a 1A, 1B, and one of mine was this one, the 7-0 Red Bull loss away. It was terrible because, like Ananda mentioned, we were there. We went to go see the Galaxy play. Like, I mean, obviously I was covering the match, but I mean, it was one of the rare times throughout the season that I actually get to sit in the stands and was with the fans and stuff like that. And we even got to see Amito's family, and the Galaxy just got totally destroyed. Obviously, we walked about a mile back to the train with a little New Jersey boy behind us saying "F the Galaxy," which was fun. Um, but yeah, this was, like I said, one of my worst moments of the season. And my other one is what you've already mentioned, man. Not putting out a statement. The Galaxy could have. I mean, there's a lot of fallout to this what, and you've already mentioned it, Ananda. I mean, the digs will fundamentally look different next year as a result of what happened, as a result of their inaction and not putting out a statement. No matter, and like you said, no matter where you lie on the political spectrum, the facts remain that because of this happening, the digs will look differently next year. I've personally spoken to different fans, hardcore Galaxy fans, like the biggest hardcore Galaxy supporters who will not be going to matches next year, who say that the trust is broken, who say that that they if they don't love me, why should I be there? I can watch from home where I feel safer. So anyway, I mean, this was my problem, like the worst moment here for the Galaxy organization, the Galaxy team, the Galaxy name, the Galaxy brand. Uh, you know, I will never forget the look of conflicting emotions on this Galaxy fan's face when they told me, yeah, the trust is broken. This is a Galaxy fan that I've ever since I can remember going to games as a youth. I've seen them in the stands, and it'll be a different place next year in the stands with them not there. So that's my probably the lowest point for me of 2025. We'll have to see how that develops and what it actually means for the digs and supporter groups next year. One thing's for sure. The stands, the digs, the atmosphere was off at the end of 2025, and of course, they actually weren't having the greatest season on the pitch. But in 2023, when they weren't having the best season on the pitch, they still had the passionate support of their supporter groups, and yeah, well, 2026 will be a brave new world in which we will see what that looks like. But now let's flip the script. Like Ananda said, let's go ahead and finish off with a bunch of positivity, a bunch of that feeling you felt when Reading Rainbow used to come on and the theme song used to just say, butterfly in the sky. Yeah, that's how we're gonna finish this episode, y'all. We're gonna finish it off with rainbows and sunshines and puppy dogs. And you know what? Because it is a brand new day. MLS teams are still playing, but the Galaxy is knocked out, so it is a brand new day. Time to turn over a leaf, and we are going to be looking at now the top 3 best moments for us in the Galaxy season. Ananda, I went first last time, so you go ahead and hit it up first this time.
Fair. So my number 3, again, not in any super specific order. This is probably my number 3 because I had like a 1A, 1B, like you had for the best ones, or sorry, for the worst ones, which is, so my number 3 is the two game tying goals versus LAFC, both El Tráficos this year, Rob. Because even in the worst Galaxy season in history, in LA Galaxy history, even in the most embarrassing of seasons, LAFC still couldn't nick a goal off, or still couldn't nick a win, right? Like, and we talked about this with like Scarf and those guys from the Defenders of the Bank. It's like, you know, LAFC fans were in trepidation of not being able to get a win, or like having there some sort of banter, or allow LA Galaxy fans to have some sort of banter against LAFC fans, right? Because I mean, we've been absolutely dog. We've absolutely pony this year, right? And yet those 2 game tying goals, and the way it happened too, you remember Marco Roy's free kick, 86th minute or so in game 1 at the digs, and then the second one, last minute Mo Cuevas cross into Maya Yoshida that shut up BMO Stadium because they thought they had it in the bag, right? I mean, look, this game, no matter how bad or how good both teams are, this game always brings out fireworks. There was another 10 goals combined in the two combined matches. We know this game is always high scoring. And I mean, look, we can play 5-6 times a season, but the fact of the matter remains is that every game is usually fireworks. And El Tráfico did not disappoint again this year. So that was my number 3, man.
I have another honorable mention, but I'll give them both to you at the same time. The honorable mention, number 3, because they're kind of tied together. The honorable mention was that Colorado 3-0 win, in which Miller scored, Elijah scored, Gabriel Pecci scored. First off, Gabriel Pecci was trying to get himself going, so that was a nice game for him. But the promise that Miller and Elijah showed in that match was, again, very heartening for the future. But we saw the very first kind of inkling of the player that Harbor would become in my real number 3 pick, which is the Herediano 4-1 win. We did get to see a Galaxy team that gave us our first good moment of 2025, and we got to see again an inkling of some of these players that would start to blossom here in 2025. What is your number 2?
Yeah, so like I said, this is probably 1A, 1B, so I'll just say this one first, and then we'll get into the top one. But I actually turned one of the negatives that we talked about into a positive, Rob, which is my number 2 is the walkout on July 4th of B Block. I think no matter what was happening in outside the stadium and all that stuff, LA Galaxy fans still stood up in solidarity, right? And they did the walkout. They needed to send a message. Again, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you sit on, but the fans did the same thing in 2023, obviously for a very different reason. But the fact that the fans still are voicing their opinion, are still having a voice, and they're still showing their voice, I think says a lot probably about this community in general, and especially the LA Galaxy community, right, Rob? So again, I'm going to turn one of those negatives into a positive, and the fact that that the fans, especially a large section of the fan base, are showing up and they're standing in solidarity, and that has to be a proud moment, I think, at some level, especially if you're an LA Galaxy fan.
Well, dang, now I kind of feel bad for my number 2, because you took a negative and turned it into a positive, and I'm kind of taking a positive and kind of ending it on a negative, I guess, because well, I chose as my number 2 that 2-game stretch at the beginning of July in which the Galaxy destroyed a really good Vancouver team 3-0, goal by Nasi and 2 goals by JP, and then they followed that up with a 2-1 win over DC United, goal by Royce and Fagundes, and you started to think like, yeah, I mean they're gonna get going here. Like, they have Austin coming up here at home, totally winnable game. Austin is not playing well. They have one of the lowest productions in MLS in terms of goals and in terms of XGs and shots created and big chances created. 3-game win streak coming up. Greg's boys are going to get going right ahead of the League's Cup, and man, it's going to be like that. That first block of the season was no longer, because they're going to somehow, some way, incredibly get into the playoffs, and then they followed it up with a loss to Austin at home. I believe it was a 1-0 loss, if I remember correctly. No, it was a 2-1 loss.
2-1. Yeah.
2-1 loss. But for a moment in time there in early July, there was a period where Galaxy fans were saying, hey, this team is back. They can make the playoffs. And there was like this moment of hope And so that was that feeling. If I can distill it and bottle it, like that would be the number 2 for me.
Yeah, sounds good. So should we get into our bests? We might have
Get
the
it?
same one, I'm guessing. But man, I think it's for me, it's the clear best because it's the one thing that like save face for this organization in 2025, and it's got to be getting that CCC spot, bro. It's got to be that
Yeah,
third place game.
that's
I
what I picked
mean,
as well.
I mean, it has to be because, like I said, this is. I even said coming into that game, it was about showing face or saving face. Sorry, uh, more than anything else, and I think that salvaged the Galaxy season at some level because other than that, there was really nothing to be happy about. Everything that was going on the pitch, off the pitch. Um, but really, it's that man. If you think about it, like you think about things in retrospect, and maybe we might do a little more deep dive on some of the other episodes when we do after this, which is, the Galaxy's record wasn't all too terrible post that 16 game losing streak or that 16 game winless streak. I think that really put us behind the 8 ball because after that, like we function as a normal team. I think the points per game would have put us in right about the playoff spot, right? 7th or 8th, something like that. So yeah, but again, this was the bare minimum, and we got the bare minimum. And let me just say one last thing about this. Maybe the fact that this is the best moment in 2025 puts into perspective how bad the season was. That we're saying the best moment is
A
salvaging
third place
third
game.
place and getting a and yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely a reflection on the season and an indication on how bad it was that we're celebrating a third place game. It should have been a much different season for a variety of reasons. It was not. But we did pledge to end on a positive, and I guess what we can say is that beyond everything that happened on the pitch and the Galaxy getting that Champions Cup qualification, which is again what Ananda said, the bare minimum they could do. We still had a good season because we had you guys in it, and so really the top best moment was making new memories with y'all, having that listener show with you guys. Hopefully we get to do fun stuff like that again in season 4. So I'm gonna cheat and say that the top moment was the memories and the moments we had with y'all. But anyway, Ananda, trying to end it on a positive note, like we said we would, right?
Yep. I agree with that. I will allow it for sure. But let's let's wrap it, man.
Yeah, and you know what else is positive? The Scousers lost their again in the league, so that's wonderful.
Oh,
Hey,
oh, let's go.
let's
Let's
go.
go. I think you guys have I think Man United might have more points than the Scousers at this point. Who knows?
They
Maybe less.
absolutely do.
Yeah.
Good on Rumens boys for winning their third in a row today. But anyway, next on the Kuna Galaxiana, we'll be back with you live on Thursday, October 30th, as we begin. Hopefully, we begin our detailed breakdown of the Galaxy season. But before we do, we give out our season end awards for the Galaxy players. And then a week from now, on Monday, November 3rd, join us as we start to give out player grades for the year, starting with keepers and defenders. Ananda, anything else to add before we get on out of here?
No, just wanted to say, like I said, hopefully you guys made it through my audio. Hopefully it's not too bad. And I will be back hopefully in the next episode. No, not hopefully. I will be back in the normal digs, no pun intended. And everything will be kosher. So yeah, guys, can't wait to be back with you guys live. And Papa, I guess there's only one thing left to say.
Yeah. One thing left to say. Besides, we missed y'all, and we'll see you again very, very soon in chat. We will be together again very soon. Here we go. One thing left to say. G